The third need is the need for significance, which is to be seen, heard, or needed. So often mamas, a lot of mamas, particular type of mama is called giver mamas in the world. They give, like breathing is like giving for them. We all know them. They'll just like, oh, it's all going to be okay. And they just take you in. They're like the mama of all mamas. Um, One way that we fill our need for significance to be seen, heard, and needed is through our children. So our children needing us brings us a certain amount of significance, right? Or other people needing us brings significance. The fourth is our need for love and connection, love being much deeper than connection. And then the fifth and sixth, which are the needs of the spirit, the fifth is um, the need for growth. Like all growth, when we're growing, growth equals progress, progress equals happiness. So, so if we're not growing, we're dying, so growth, we all have a need for growth. And then the last is the need for contribution or giving. So certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom Seeker Show, the safe place where we have unfiltered conversations that matter to women. I'm your host, Yvonne Winkler. I'm the CEO of Lotus Consulting Inc., an organization on a mission to support women's well-being through empowerment, collaboration, and harmony. And today I am here with Dr. Sue McCreadie.
Thank you for having me, Yvonne. Thank you. It's fun to be here with you.
It's great to have you. So Dr. Sue is a pediatric physician and a soulful mama strategist. And bringing 3 daughters into this world. She lost 4 along the way and then crossed the pregnancy finish line, a digestive, hormonal, emotional mess. But over the following decade, Dr. Sue found a deeper meaning for miscarriages, reclaimed vibrant health, and grew emotional resiliency. Now she supports mamas to break through midlife mayhem and live life re-energized, empowered, and knowing their soulful way. Thank you for being here, Dr. Sue. This is, as I said, a safe place for us to have unfiltered conversations that matter to women. And I know there are many in here, in my community, that are mamas and that can relate to your story. So I'm really grateful that you've taken the time to be here with us and share your experiences.
Yes. And also, I always like to widen the definition of mama. So, mama is, you can be a mama to fur babies, you can be a mama of children, and you can just be a mama, meaning you're in your midlife wise years. So, some of the mamas that I work with do have babies, but some of them have fur babies, and some of them just have their wise old self. And I love working with all midlife mamas. So, yeah, it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be with you, mamas who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and above. The wise years, the years of wisdom, where we get to really explore the things that truly matter to us. And a little bit about myself, of how I even got to coming here to be with all of you, is really from my mom. So it was actually my mom, who's now 88 years young, who inspired me to become a doctor, because she was an ER nurse. And back in the day where you could take your child to work, including the emergency room, I followed her around the emergency room and was like, this is amazing. And I said, Mom, I want to be a nurse like you. And she said, don't be a nurse, be a doctor. And it tells you a little bit about my mom. So my mom is definitely personality wise, a visionary, what I call a visionary mama, kind of like the CEOs of the world. Like they get stuff done, they see the big picture. And she had a vision for me. And I said yes to it. And my calling really into medicine was to heal another person's suffering. And I was actually always very interested in psychology. So my undergrad is in biopsych, and then during med school, I thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist until I did rotations in psychiatry and said, this is not for me. um, and fell in love with my pediatric rotation because kids really, for me, I just cannot stand seeing kids suffer. Like it brings me tears all the time. And so that's really where my first calling came from, is to end children's suffering. And I've done that in a very unique way. So I always been an entrepreneur. I've always had my own practice. And my vision for my practice, which I've been doing now for over 2 decades, is really helping children who are falling through the cracks of standard medicine, helping them align their diet and lifestyle with their DNA. So helping them with their nutrition to end their dis-ease, whether that's allergies or asthma or eczema or ADD or autoimmune or anxiety or depression or autism or constipation, or all the kind of list that goes on and on and on of all those symptoms, really helping them heal from the inside out through nutrition primarily. And what inspired me to start working with mamas is the mamas in my practice who kept on saying, what about me, Dr. Sue? What about me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And at first I was like, no, I'm a pediatrician. But eventually it just sort of evolved and ebbed and flowed into all these different ways of serving mamas, and anything from a nonprofit, like I was a co-founder of a nonprofit, to other different types of ways of supporting moms, including through helping them with the nutrition, and really stumbled upon my second calling, which is coaching moms midlife, and which really made sense to me when I looked back and discovered that in essence, every child in this world comes through a mom. And so if I really want to impact children's lives, I get to impact the mamas who are in touch with these kids, right? And so inevitably, a lot of my coaching, even this morning, I can think of group coaching. I was coaching a group of mamas, and our greatest gifts and our greatest challenges come through our children and our relationships in life, right? Like relationships expand more of who we are. And so it can expand our joy or expand our pain, as even you were sharing with me, Yvonne, right? It's all relationships in our lives do that. And they're a place for us to discover more about ourselves. And so that's what my mission is to really rise up mamas to lead from their highest place self, so that they can therefore turn around and lead their children from their highest selves, rather than being in a fear-based kind of spinning circle.
Mm-hmm. So one curiosity I have, Dr. Sue, is if you are working as a pediatric physician, what inspired you to help women in their midlife, like in their 40s and
Yeah, I don't know that it came to one moment in time, but I can say that it came from, I actually kind of gave up trying to figure out how to help mamas. About 6 months before I launched my coaching career, I was actually like, I don't know, God, I give up. Like, this doesn't just seem to be working, because I had tried different ways. Like I had tried the nonprofit, and then I tried a different couple for-profits in different kinds of ways. Yeah. But it was all really more based around their physical healing. And so I just kind of put down, have you ever kind of had a project and you just like put it down? You're like, I don't know, it's just not working. So I actually went around and told people, I'm semi-retired. I'm going to finish out this pediatric thing, and then, I'm off. Yeah. And, everyone's like, really? Because they always see me doing all these different sorts of things. Like, are you sure? And I'm like, no, this is it. Like, I'm semi-retired. It feels good. And about 6 months later, I just got another kind of calling, like another urge, like, nope, you're not done. Like, you get to still serve in some way. And a woman kind of crossed my path and, kind of became a mentor in terms of seeing like, oh, maybe I can coach these moms. So I just kind of put out an email to my to my to my list that I had been nurturing, right? And lo and behold, like 5 mamas raised their hand. I was like, oh, okay. And so I think I like to say that because, I didn't feel ready.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like I had what it took. I didn't really know what I was doing. Um, and I have so much training in all different modalities, like a lot of training in terms of physical health, obviously, but even in terms of mental, emotional, like one of the frameworks I'm going to share with you today is a Tony Robbins framework. And so I've had a lot of training in leadership and mindset and emotional mastery and those type of things over the past. I mean, I've been like a self-development junkie since my 20s, but more so for the past 5 years. So I just say that to free mamas up because I think I work with a lot of mamas who, they never feel ready. And I just want you to know, like, I never feel ready either.
Mm-hmm. That's such an important message, and thank you for saying that again and again and again. I don't think we can ever hear it enough. My work in the world is all about helping women create a life that they love, and that involves risk, that involves vulnerability, that involves uh, stepping out of that comfort zone before we're ready. So I'm very familiar with it, and certainly had to stretch my wings quite a few times myself. So
And I think one of the things that really helped me do that, Yvonne, was from this mentor. She said, just be really transparent, right? And so I was with these mamas. I was like, you know what? I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know I can help you. I know I can serve you. I know we'll have fun. And so off on the journey we went. And it was transformative. It was miraculous. It was unbelievable. Just joy for all of us and heartfelt connection and growth and just beauty, right? But a lot of what helped me free myself up was just being super transparent. Like, if this sucks, you can have all your money back. Like, I'm not in it for that anyhow. Like, here, have it all back, And of course, it didn't work out that way. It's like many of them continued on with me to do even more coaching. So I just like to throw that out there because I think some people look at me and they think, oh, you have it all together and you know this, and you know that, and you're so confident. I'm like, oh my gosh, if you only knew, like I have so much self-doubt, and I do it anyway.
Thank you. We need to hear this, don't we? We need to hear this so much. So, if anyone's on this right now, please send us a heart or a thumbs up emoji because yes, we do need to hear this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it like? You said in our prep work for this interview, you said that you wanted to share the 6 human needs. So this is the Tony Robbins framework that you've just
yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lead us into that. What is that, and how did you come across this?
So I came across this when I started working with Tony Robbins, and he calls it the 6 human needs. It's a framework that he actually came up with when he was stumbling and trying to figure out why this person wasn't happy, because this person seemingly had everything, in relationships and health and wealth, and just like, why isn't this guy happy? Like, what's his problem almost, right? And he had this big aha where he discovered, like, by working with so many people across, the globe and in so many different countries and cultures, that really we all share these common 6 human needs. And when I've shared this with mamas before, the light bulbs really start going off, because I think it's another lens or a filter that we can start to better understand ourselves, and therefore better understand other people that we love and serve in the world. So I'll just start by naming the 6 human needs. We all share 6 human needs, but we prioritize and we fulfill our needs differently. And so the first 4 are the needs of the personality, and the last 2 are the needs of the spirit. So all of us have the first four, and some of us are in this world to fulfill our spiritual needs as well. So our first need is for the need for certainty. So our need for certainty is our need to know that we're going to be more in comfort than in pain, that we have control in our life, that we will feel pleasure, that we have food and shelter, that we're safe, so we have a high need for certainty. But if we're too certain, like it reminds me, one of my daughters during COVID, it's like every day was the same, too much certainty brings boredom. So we also have a need for variety. It's kind of like uncertainty or spice of life, like you don't know what's around the corner yet, or you don't know what this meal will turn out to be, or you don't know how this movie will end, right? So we have this, that's a lot. Like, I know you're a traveler, like you travel brings a lot of uncertainty, right? That's why we love it and we seek it out. The third need is a need for significance, which is to be seen, heard, or needed. So often a lot of mamas, particular type of mamas called giver mamas in the world, they give, like breathing is like giving for them. We all know them. They'll just like, oh, it's all going to be okay. And they just take you in. They're like the mama of all mamas. One way that we fill our need for significance, to be seen, heard, and needed, is through our children. So our children needing us brings us a certain amount of significance, right? Or other people needing us brings significance. The fourth is our need for love and connection, love being much deeper than connection. And then the fifth and sixth, which are the needs of the spirit, the fifth is the need for growth. Like all growth, when we're growing, growth equals progress, progress equals happiness. So, so if we're not growing, we're dying, so growth, we all have a need for growth. And then the last is the need for contribution or giving. So certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. And so why these needs, there's so many ways, like you could spiral off into so many ways of kind of diving in and discovering these needs. But I'll just share a little bit about when I came into these. And as I tell this story, you think about what your top two needs are, because we all prioritize them differently. So when I came into Tony Robbins' world, I really wanted to be like a celebrity, like a mini celebrity, Dr. Sue. Like if I got to be brutally honest with myself, I wanted people to see me and hear me. Like, I'm here to help, like see me, hear me, right? But kind of in that like egocentric way, right? And so I also always have had a high need for love and connection. So when I got brutally honest with myself, because all transformation starts with brutal honesty. So we can't transform and improve ourselves if we're not willing to be brutally honest about where we are. So I always like to say, there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. Like there's no right top human need. It's just like, where are you? Where are you right now? Because then you get to choose based on where you want to go, what do you want those two top needs to be, right? So when I got brutally honest with myself, I was like, love and connection and significance. And
how did you get there, though? How did you become brutally honest? How did you cross that threshold of the story you've told yourself for all this time, and then getting to the real center of it?
For me, it always comes back to my why, which is really about living my soulful purpose in life. So I'm always like, when I transition from this world, from physical into just pure spirit, I want to make sure that I lived my soulful purpose, that I was learning my lessons, that I was courageous enough to transform. And so that always gets me, so I get to be brutally honest. From an egocentric way, the way I got there was because I showed up because I was unhappy, and there's a formula for happiness that Tony Robbins teaches, which is when our life conditions equal our expectations of what we think life should be in that area of life, we're happy. But when our life conditions do not equal our expectations, whether that's our expectation for health or relationships or wealth, abundance, our purpose, our mission, our work, whatever it is, when those don't equate, we're unhappy. And if we think that there's no way to change that, we actually suffer. We're in suffering. And so I was also got to be brutally honest because I wasn't happy in the area of life in terms of my career, and I never felt like I was really quite there yet, like I do now. Like I just was like, what am I missing? I don't feel at ease in this place, right? So that was another reason why I got brutally honest, because I was unhappy and I was like, I want to be happy. Um, so when this need, when you have a top need for significance and love and connection, they actually move in different directions, because the more you want to be seen and heard as different, the more you disconnect from love and connection. Because where we connect is through our vulnerability. It's through what makes us imperfect. It's through our shared commonalities. Whereas if I'm always trying to be perfect and show this perfect, like, look at me, see me, I'm just really bouncing off of people. Like, I'm not really connecting with them. So what do you think your top two needs are, Yvonne?
Well, I could immediately relate to the visibility piece if I'm really
Yeah.
honest with myself. But I also have a strong need to serve and to.
Yeah.
Uh, so I feel like right now I'm resonating very much with what you said. Like, I can feel how I need to get more honest with myself on what my true needs are, and
Yeah.
that
Cool.
resonates the most with me. Like, certainty is an important one, yes, but that's not where I'm landing right now. It's contribution, and it's um, being seen.
So then we get to be honest about where, based on our vision of where we want to go, right? So my vision was clearly in service. Okay. Like, I really want to help people heal. But to be honest with you, my ego was like, I cannot put contribution up there, because I felt like, even though everybody's like, the secret to living is giving, I always felt like, it felt like still I wasn't evolved enough. Like, I still felt like it was going to take something from me. Like, giving would lead to depletion rather than expansion. So I'm just being really honest with you guys, because I think that's helpful. Like, even though we're like, oh, I want to be this, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can move this up. So what I decided to move up was growth, because I love growing. I love personal development. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can move up growth, and I'll just scooch, significance down. I can do that. That's easy. So that's the step that I took. And then eventually where I got to in this year that we're in 2023 is putting contribution above everything. And I cannot tell you, it has totally transformed my world, putting contribution above everything else. Because the more you grow, you're more able to give. So now it's like contribution, growth, and love and connection. And so the more I love myself, the more I love others, the more I'm in the frequency of love and grow to be in the frequency of love, the more I'm able to grow, the more I'm able to grow, the more I'm able to give and contribute to the world. So, like, to me, stacking them that way has really allowed me to free up all these unresolved things. Like, if I just, if I put in all this time, work, effort, and energy into something, and then one person shows up, and I'm looking there to come and get significance out of it, you can feel how I'll walk away disappointed. But if I'm there to contribute, it's like, oh my gosh, how can I serve you? Right? It like changes and transforms everything. So does that make sense, Yvonne? What comes up for you when I share that?
It does. I love it, because I can relate to it so well right now.
Mm-hmm.
My curiosity immediately takes me to, do you remember what happened when you had that moment of realizing, oh, I need to put
Yes.
contribution?
Yes, I do. That's such a great question. I forgot about this. So I realized I that these mamas initially, remember I kind of shared that, like, my first wave of mamas that I was helping, I still had a very high need for love and connection. So I was going to them to receive love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And not that I don't receive love now, I do receive love. But what I realized was how I was able to shift that is that I get to show up in contribution, meaning I don't care if they love me or not. I'm here to be the truth teller, the lovingly truth teller, and hold them really high, even risk them not liking me in order to really serve them. And though that seemed like kind of scary, right? I was like, no, that's it. Like I could feel it on my cellular being. Like I was like, I can still feel it. It's like, whoa. No, the bigger thing is like it doesn't matter if they love me back. What matters is that I love them so much. Like I'm going to contribute to their lives at such a high level and really see them in their highest potential. Like I don't care if they like me or not. I'm still going to show up in a loving way, but
Yes.
I've totally released. I don't go to them to get love.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do.
And
Yes.
that's what really
That is
shifted
a
for
huge
me.
shift. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you
Isn't
so
that
much.
juicy? Isn't
Yeah,
it so fun?
it's it is juicy. And mm, it's landing with me, and I'm having a hard time putting words to it right now. So I
Hmm.
this is how I know it's juicy because I'm like I'm gonna be sitting
Yeah,
with this for a little bit. Um, yeah, you made it about them, not about you, and
correct.
that shifted everything for you.
Hmm.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. And now, how do you, like, do you have, I know you and I met when you held your Mama Rise Summit.
Hmm.
How, and I heard you're doing another summit coming up. How can mamas get in touch with you and be part of this this community that you so beautifully nurture?
Mm. Yeah, I think the easiest way is going to my website, Dr. Sue McCreadie, so DrSueMCCREADIE.com. And there's something called the Soulful Mama Quiz there. And the quiz allows you again to know more about yourself because that's really what we're up to here. We're more about like discovering more about ourselves so that we can really heal all areas of our lives and therefore help others, including our children or those we love and serve, heal. Um, and so there you can take a Soulful Mama quiz and figure out your personality type because all of us bring different soulful strengths to the world. So
Mm-hmm.
like I was explaining, my mom's a visionary mama. So she's like the Beyoncé's of the world. She's like, let's go, like bam. Very direct, very say it how it is. Wears red. um, there's a motivational mama, that's me, who is like, hey, come my way. Like everything's about fun and energy and
Yeah.
playfulness. There's the giver mama, so the mama of all mamas, which is just like, come to mama. Like, let me just hold you. It's all going to be okay. Often our kids bring the giver mama out in us. And then there's the detail mama, who I'm the least of, but I love is, I dot my I's, cross my T's. She's like the spreadsheet maker. She's the one who catches my typos and emails me and says, hey, you have a typo here. And I'm like, thank you so much, because my fast brain is like going too fast to see all that. Um, so by knowing better your soulful strengths,
Right.
you'll know where you get to grow. So we have, the truth is we all have all parts of this in us, but there's parts that are more expanded. Like we come into this world, like one of my daughters is just, she's a giver mama. Like giving to her is like breathing. Like she just doesn't know any other way of being than
Yeah.
to give, right? But the downfall of, like, for every type has its kind of strengths, but then the downfall of the giver mama is like she can get squashed. She can become the doormat. Like people just walk all over her, not necessarily intentionally, but just like because she's so giving, she gets squashed. So she gets to like step up into the visionary of the Beyonce and like, see me, hear me, like listen up.
Yeah.
So usually where we are right now is we're in our comfort zone. We're in our natural place of being, right? But when we want to get to someplace else, we get to stretch a part of ourselves. So um, even stretching into like contribution, of for me this year was running one summit for these mamas per quarter. And if there's one thing people come back to me, whether it's the speaker or it's the attendee, they're like, wow, this is a lot of work. And the truth is, it is a lot of work. But it's absolutely growing me to be a detail mama, which is dotting I's, crossing T's, following up with speakers, making sure everyone's taken care of, right? So it's stretching me in ways that I haven't been stretched before. And that's usually what's true. Like where we're going is going to stretch you out of your comfort zone. Like, I'm not going to get to that place of service just being in my motivational mama. Like I get to flex, the visionary in me and the giver in me and the detail mama in me to get to there. Does that make sense? So it's a fun place to
And
start
I
to.
really love how you are emphasizing that there's nothing wrong with any of these mama
Mm-mm.
personas. It's that in order to grow, we want to stretch ourselves in the ones that we may not be as comfortable in at this time, and
Mm-hmm.
um, become more rounded in all aspects of
Yeah, and I think it best serves us when we're in the painful moments of life, right? And just like you and I were sharing before we went live, it's like when we're in pain is the greatest place of growth. because all pain has a purpose. And like when you work with me, I have this disruptor. It changes my physiology. I say I'm sculpting my soul. So I'm like, I'm sculpting my soul, which means I'm going through a really hard time. I've been activated, right? I'm being challenged. I'm sculpting my soul. And so, and that's where, when you tap into this need of, growth and contribution, like whenever we're sculpting our souls, if you're game to grow through it, like you're going to be able to turn around and give that to somebody else. So I always like to remind mamas, like all pain has a purpose if we're up to getting curious about what message it's bringing us and what we get to learn from it. And that happiness isn't about ridding your life of problems, Problems are really a sign of life. Like if you don't have any problems, that means you're DEAD. Okay. So living is really about like finding and empowering meaning for everything that you're going through and experiencing, and then developing the habits you need to take you to where you want to go for your vision.
So amazing, Dr. Sue. We could keep talking about this for hours, I'm sure. I can feel and sense your excitement, true excitement about this genre of personal development. And thank you for doing the work that you do. We need this support more than ever, I believe, in the world. And I also love that you are still a practicing pediatric because I do agree with you. I think it starts with the mamas, but it also the children are our future. So if we can help set them up properly from the beginning, we are growing a healthier um, society going forward. So thank you for the work that you do. I'm very excited. I'll list all of your handles and your website on the bottom of the show notes, so please pay attention to that and get in touch with Dr. Sue. She's obviously got an incredible quiz on her website I'm going to check out right now. And I want to thank you again for your time and being in our community and sharing your beautiful wisdom. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you for having me, Yvonne. Truly. Thank you.